The ultimatum. The sky above Beijing shimmered with unusual energy as the massive hegemony vessel descended through Earth's atmosphere. It wasn't the first alien ship humanity had seen. That milestone had passed nearly 15 years ago, but the ancestral virtue was different. Its 20-kilometer length dwarfed even the largest human structures, casting a shadow that plunged half the city into premature twilight. Inside the United Earth Assembly Chamber, Ambassador Caroline Beakey kept her expression neutral despite the churning anxiety in her stomach. After 6 years representing humanity to the galactic hegemony, she learned to read the subtle signs of diplomatic disaster. The unannounced arrival of the ancestral virtue, flagship of the Hegemony Council itself, was far beyond concerning. Delegates of Earth announced the alien figure on the Assembly's central holographic platform. High Counselor Vexthar of the Osira stood nearly 3 meters tall, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light with each slight movement. Behind him stood representatives from the 11 other founding species of the hegemony, their diversity of forms a testament to the vastness of galactic life. The Council has concluded its deliberations on humanity's status within our interstellar community. Caroline felt her colleagues tense around her. Earth had only been granted provisional membership in the hegemony 5 years ago, after demonstrating their faster-than-light drive technology. The probationary period wasn't scheduled to end for another decade. The Council has determined that humanity presents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. Vexthar continued, the translation software rendering his vibrating voice plates into eerily perfect English. Effective immediately, all humans will be restricted to this solar system. A containment barrier will be established at the heliosphere boundary within 1 standard galactic month. Any human vessels attempting to cross this barrier after its activation will be neutralized. Pandemonium erupted in the chamber. Caroline's deputy grabbed her arm, face pale with shock. "They can't do this," he whispered. "We have colonies, research outposts, trading missions across 27 systems." But Caroline knew they absolutely could. The hegemony had technology centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. The 7 billion humans on Earth and the roughly 2 million scattered across various colonies and outposts had no practical means to resist. "On what grounds?" Caroline asked, her voice cutting through the chaos as she stepped forward. "Humanity has abided by every regulation, honored every treaty. We deserve an explanation." Vexthar's compound eyes shifted, plates clicking in what Caroline recognized as the Osira equivalent of regretful acknowledgement. "Your development trajectory is unprecedented. In the 60,000 years of the hegemony's existence, no species has advanced from primitive chemistry to viable interstellar travel in less than 800 years. Humanity accomplished this in less than 300. The algorithmic projections are unambiguous. Within a century, humans would achieve technological parity with the founding species. Within 3, you would surpass us. And that's a crime," Caroline challenged. "It is an existential threat," replied another counselor, the gelatinous, murky representative. "We have seen the dark paths of your history, your wars. Your capacity for both creation and destruction accelerates beyond safe parameters." Vexthar raised a crystalline limb. "This sentence is merciful. The hegemony will allow human vessels to return to your home system before the barrier is established. Those who remain outside will be permitted to live in designated habitation zones under supervision. We will maintain limited trade relations through authorized intermediaries." With that, the transmission ended, leaving the assembly in stunned silence. Dr. Maya Sharma's laboratory in the Galileo Research Station orbiting Jupiter was supposed to be one of humanity's proudest achievements. The collaborative xenobiology facility hosted researchers from 14 species studying comparative biochemistry. Now, 3 days after the hegemony's announcement, it felt like a prison. "They're evacuating the station," her assistant, Lynn, reported, rushing into the lab. "Hegemony transport ships are docking now. All non-human personnel are being recalled." Maya looked up from her microscope. "Did Corellian leave already?" The Vostani biochemist, had been her closest collaborator. Lin nodded. He left this. He handed Maya a small crystalline data storage device, alien in design but compatible with human systems. After ensuring they were alone, Maya connected it to her terminal. A message appeared, encrypted with their private research cipher. Maya, what I share violates every secrecy oath I've sworn. The containment decision wasn't about your development trajectory. It's about something in your biology. The progenitors discovered something in human cellular structure they classified as vector pattern K7. I don't know what it means, but it terrified them. They've ordered all samples destroyed. I saved what I could in the attached files. Use this knowledge well. Corellian. Maya downloaded the files, her hands trembling. Vector pattern K7. The progenitors were the most ancient and advanced of the founding species, so reclusive that Maya had never even seen one. If something about human biology frightened them. Lin, she said quietly, we need to copy every piece of data in this lab. Now. Captain Elijah Chen had never pushed the Dawn Treader so hard. The colony transport ship wasn't designed for speed, but with its life support systems redistributed to accommodate 3 times its recommended passenger capacity, every system screamed in protest. Status of the hegemony picket? He asked his first officer, Naveen. Still holding position at the edge of the Ta City system, Naveen replied, watching the sensor readings. They're not pursuing yet, but we're getting emergency signals from the colony. The evacuation is chaotic. Elijah nodded grimly. When the announcement had come, he'd been transporting construction equipment to the fledgling colony at Ta City. Now he was returning to evacuate as many of the 7,000 colonists as possible before the containment barrier activated. But the Dawn Treader could only safely carry 2,000, and even stretching life support to dangerous levels, he couldn't take more than 5,000. Decisions would have to be made. Terrible decisions. Message from Governor Ellis. The communications officer called out. The governor's face appeared on the bridge screen, haggard from sleepless days. Captain Chen, thank God. The colony is ready for evacuation according to the protocols we established. 1,000 specialists prioritized for their knowledge, 2,000 selected by lottery. And the others? Elijah asked, knowing the answer. They've accepted their fate, Ellis said, though her voice cracked with the weight of it. The hegemony has promised habitation zones. It won't be freedom, but it will be life. Elijah's hands tightened on the edge of the console. We'll be in orbit within 6 hours. Have your people ready. In Washington, D.C., National Security Advisor Victor Reynolds entered the presidential bunker, where the emergency cabinet had been meeting continuously since the announcement. The president looked up, eyes bloodshot. Tell me we have options, she said. Reynolds placed a tablet on the table. Limited ones, Madam President. Our deep space monitoring network detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the solar system. We believe the hegemony has already begun constructing the containment barrier. Ahead of schedule, the defense secretary muttered. So much for a month's warning. What about our people out there? The president asked. The colonies, the research stations, the mining operations. Reynolds brought up a holographic display showing dots of light scattered across nearby star systems. We have approximately 2 million humans beyond our solar system. The largest concentrations are at Ta Ceti, Epsilon Eridani, and Procyon. Emergency evacuations are underway, but our projections indicate we can only bring back perhaps 40% before the barrier is complete. And the rest become what? Prisoners. Laboratory subjects. The president's voice was tight with controlled fury. The hegemony claims they'll be permitted to live in designated zones, Reynolds said. But we have no way to verify those promises or enforce any protections. What about military options? Asked the defense secretary. Reynolds shook his head. Our most advanced weapons wouldn't even scratch their ships. We've seen their technology. They can manipulate gravity, create stable wormholes, control stellar output. We're children throwing rocks against a fortress. Then we need to save who we can. the president said firmly, "and ensure the survival of those we can't bring home." She turned to the science advisor. "What's our timeline? At the rate they're constructing the barrier, we have approximately 12 days until Earth is completely sealed off." The president stood, her decision made. "Then we have 12 days to smuggle out every piece of advanced technology, every critical research project, every seed of human knowledge that might help our people survive out there. If they want to cage us, fine. But they'll discover that humanity doesn't need Earth to endure." Maya Sharma stared at the analytical results in disbelief. For 3 days straight, she had been processing the data Corellian had smuggled to her, comparing it with her own research. "This can't be right," she murmured, though the evidence before her was undeniable. The door to her lab slid open, and she quickly locked her screen. A security team entered, led by a stern-faced woman in a United Earth insignia. "Dr. Sharma, I'm Commander Ortiz. You're being evacuated." Maya stood her ground. "My research is being packed as we speak," Ortiz said. "By direct presidential order, your entire lab is being transferred to Earth. You've been designated priority scientific personnel." "No," Maya said firmly. "I can't go back to Earth." Ortiz's expression hardened. "This isn't a request, Doctor. You don't understand." Maya moved closer, lowering her voice. "I've discovered something about the containment order, something that explains everything. I need to get this information to the colonies that won't make it back. It could be their only hope for survival." Ortiz studied her for a long moment. "You have 5 minutes to convince me." The last transport ship lifted off from Ta City as the Dawn Treader maintained orbit. On the view screen, Elijah watched thousands of colonists gathered in the main square, faces turned upward to witness the departure of their last connection to Earth. "That's everyone?" he asked quietly. "Everyone on the priority list," Naveen confirmed. 4,827 colonists aboard. Life support is already at 178% capacity. We can't take any more." Elijah closed his eyes briefly. Nearly 3,000 people left behind, including Governor Ellis, who had given up her own spot for a young physicist. "Captain," the communications officer called, "we're receiving a coded transmission from Jupiter Station, Priority Ultra." "Put it through to my ready room," Elijah ordered, stepping away from the bridge. The message was brief. Coordinates for a rendezvous point just beyond Mars orbit, authorization from the highest levels of Earth government, and a simple instruction: wait for Dr. Maya Sharma. She carries humanity's future. 7 days later, as the containment barrier neared completion, the Dawn Treader rendezvoused with a small, unmarked shuttle in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Maya Sharma stepped onto the bridge, carrying nothing but a small pack containing backup copies of her research. Commander Ortiz followed close behind. "Captain Chen," Ortiz said formally, "by presidential directive, you are ordered to proceed immediately to the coordinates I'm transferring to your navigation system. You will not return to Earth." "What?" Elijah's shock was mirrored on the faces of his crew. "We have thousands of refugees who need to be." "Those coordinates will take you through a maintenance gap in the forming barrier," Ortiz continued. "It will close within 36 hours. Once through, you are to proceed to the location designated Haven and establish contact with as many stranded human colonies as possible." Maya stepped forward. "Captain, I've discovered why the hegemony fears us. It's not our technological development. It's something in our biology, something they believe makes us dangerous. My research suggests they're right, but not in the way they think." She held up a data crystal. "This contains everything I've learned, including information smuggled out by an alien colleague. If I'm right, the scattered colonies of humanity aren't just refugees, they're seeds. And what grows from them may ultimately save this galaxy from a threat that hegemony hasn't even recognized yet." Elijah looked from Maya to Ortiz, then to the thousands of displaced colonists throughout his ship. These people had lost their homes, their possessions, many separated from loved ones still on Earth. and now he was being asked to take them even further away, with no promise of return. "The barrier is nearly complete," Ortiz said quietly. "This is humanity's last chance to maintain a free presence among the stars." Elijah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision. Then he turned to his navigation officer. "Set course for the provided coordinates. Maximum speed." As the Dawn Treader changed course, the great blue jewel of Earth receded in the view screens. None aboard knew if they would ever see it again. But as Maya shared her discoveries with the ship's scientific team, a spark of hope began to kindle among the refugees. The hegemony had sought to contain humanity, to isolate what they feared. Instead, they had scattered the seeds of Earth's children across the stars, where they would take root, adapt, and ultimately return, not as supplicants, but as saviors. The redemption. 10 years passed like a slow exhale across the scattered remnants of humanity. What had begun as desperate refugee camps on distant worlds had transformed into thriving settlements, each developing their own cultural adaptations to alien environments. Haven, the secret base established on a rogue planet drifting through interstellar space, had grown into the nerve center of what humans now called the diaspora. Built into the caverns of the ice-covered world, illuminated by artificial suns, Haven housed the central council that maintained communication between the scattered human colonies. Elijah Chen, now admiral of the modest diaspora defense fleet, stood before the holographic display showing the known galaxy. Red markers indicated hegemony worlds, blue represented human settlements, and alarming patches of black showed the spreading influence of what the diaspora had named the Void Plague. "The pattern is accelerating," reported his intelligence chief, Naveen. 3 more hegemony worlds have gone silent in the past month. Maya Sharma, her once black hair now streaked with gray, studied the display with intense concentration, and still no acknowledgement from the Hegemony Council that anything is wrong. Official channels maintain that the affected worlds are experiencing temporary communication disruptions due to stellar phenomena. Naveen replied with unconcealed skepticism. "But our network tells a different story. Refugees are fleeing these systems by the millions. Some have even made contact with our outposts, seeking asylum." "Have they been screened?" Maya asked sharply. "Thoroughly. None show signs of infection," Elijah assured her. "But their testimonies confirm everything we feared. The Void Plague doesn't just kill, it transforms, converts organic matter into something else." The council chamber doors slid open, and Ambassador Talia Mbeki entered, daughter of Caroline, who had remained on Earth when the barrier closed. Raised in exile, Talia had never known the homeworld of her species, but she carried her mother's diplomatic acumen in her blood. "We've received a response from Councillor Kelth of the Vostani," she announced. "He's agreed to a clandestine meeting in the Antares neutral zone." Elijah raised an eyebrow. "A hegemony founder species willing to meet with quarantined humans. The situation must be more desperate than we thought." "It's taken 10 years of building back-channel contacts," Talia reminded him. "And Kelth is taking an enormous risk. If the other council members discover this meeting, then we'd better make it count," Maya said, gathering her research materials. "Because I'm finally ready to show them exactly why they should have been working with humanity instead of fearing us." The Antares neutral zone existed in the shadow of a dying star, a place where the usual rules of hegemony law were relaxed to facilitate trade with non-member species. The human delegation arrived aboard the Defiant, a ship built entirely in exile, its technology a hybrid of human innovation and reverse-engineered alien systems. Councillor Kelth's vessel waited at the designated coordinates, an elegant Vostani design that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. As the delegations met in the neutral station's conference chamber, Elijah noted how Kelth's normally luminescent skin had dimmed, a sign of extreme stress in the Vostani. "You risk much by coming here," Talia began, following the formal patterns of Vostani diplomatic speech. "The risk of inaction has become greater," Kelth replied, his translator rendering his harmonic speech. 17 worlds have gone silent. The void plague spreads, yet the Council remains paralyzed by ancient protocols and pride. They still won't acknowledge the threat? Maya asked. Kelth's skin rippled in what humans had learned was an expression of bitter amusement. The progenitors claim it is a minor bacterial outbreak that their advanced medical science will soon contain. Meanwhile, they've quietly begun evacuating their ancestral worlds. And Earth? Elijah asked the question that had haunted the diaspora for a decade. What news of our homeworld? The containment barrier remains intact, Kelth said. All communication with Earth is filtered through hegemony sensors. Your people there are told the colonies were all successfully evacuated home before the barrier closed, while the galaxy is told humanity is thriving contentedly within its solar system. Lies upon lies, Talia murmured. Such is the way of empires fearing their fall, Kelth replied. But I did not risk censure merely to confirm what you already suspected. The Void Plague has reached Ozeran Prime, home of High Counselor Vexthar himself. The entire northern continent has been quarantined. The Council can no longer deny the severity of the threat. Maya leaned forward. Then they're finally ready to listen. They are desperate for solutions, Kelth corrected. But old fears die hard. I must show them something conclusive before they will consider lifting the containment of Earth. Maya activated her data projector, displaying complex molecular structures. 10 years ago, your colleague Corellian smuggled research to me about what the progenitors called vector pattern K7, something in human cellular structure that terrified them enough to quarantine our entire species. The display shifted to show comparative biological samples. It took me years to understand what they had discovered. Humans possess a unique enzyme complex that allows our immune cells to rapidly adapt to unknown pathogens, far more quickly than any other known sentient species. The progenitors feared this gave us the potential to become biological weapons. And does it? Kelth asked directly. No, Maya said firmly. But it does make us uniquely resistant to the Void Plague. We've been tracking the outbreak since the first rumors reached us 3 years ago. Every affected species shows complete vulnerability, except humans. She displayed medical scans. We've had 12 human exposures to the plague. 10 developed mild symptoms before their immune systems adapted and neutralized the pathogen. 2 showed no symptoms at all. Kelth's skin brightened with shock. You've developed a cure. Better, Maya said. We've developed a treatment derived from human immune responses that can halt the progression of the plague in already infected individuals. And we believe we can create a universal vaccine. But we need access to Earth. The genetic diversity of 7 billion humans would allow us to perfect the formula within months. Kelth was silent for a long moment. What, you ask? The barrier has never been lowered since its creation. The technology is controlled exclusively by the progenitors. Then take us to them, Elijah said. If they truly fear the plague, as you say, they'll listen. The progenitors do not grant audiences to quarantined species, Kelth said. Talia smiled diplomatically. Then perhaps it's time they made an exception. Before there are no species left to quarantine. The journey to progenitor space took 17 days, even using the Vostani ship's advanced warp technology. As they traveled, reports reached them of 3 more systems falling silent, the plague advancing with terrifying speed toward the heart of the hegemony. The progenitor homeworld, Axis, orbited a perfectly stable yellow star in a system so ancient that its planets had been engineered into perfect orbital harmony billions of years ago. As they approached, massive defense platforms tracked their vessel, weapon systems capable of reducing them to their component atoms with a thought. Remember, Kelth cautioned as they prepared to shuttle down to the surface, the progenitors evolved differently than most sentient life. They do not experience emotions as we understand them. They value efficiency and predictability above all else. Which explains why they fear humans so much, Elijah remarked. We're notoriously unpredictable. The progenitors awaited them in a vast circular chamber, the walls showing real-time images of the galaxy. Elijah had expected biological entities, but what greeted them were towering columns of shifting crystalline structures, pulsing with internal light, more like living architecture than creatures. The Vostheni brings quarantined life forms before the conclave. A harmonious voice resonated throughout the chamber, seeming to come from everywhere at once. Explain this violation of protocol. Kelth prostrated himself in the formal gesture of his species. Highest ones, I bring representatives of humanity who offer salvation from the consuming darkness. The human containment was ordered for the safety of all, the voice replied. Their biological potential presents an unacceptable variable in galactic stability. Maya stepped forward, ignoring Kelth's warning gesture. You feared our adaptability because you recognize what it meant. You've encountered the void plague before, haven't you? The crystalline structures pulsed in unison, a pattern that suggested communication among them. It emerges in cycles, the voice finally acknowledged. 6 times in our history, at intervals of approximately 40 million years. Always it begins at the galaxy's edge and moves inward, consuming all unsuitable life forms. Unsuitable? Talia questioned. Those unable to achieve symbiosis with it, the voice clarified. In previous cycles, less than 1% of sentient species survived. And you've known this was coming, Elijah said, anger rising in his voice. You've known for how long? Centuries? Millennia. And instead of preparing the galaxy, you've hidden the truth. Panic serves no purpose, the voice replied. Each species is evaluated for resilience potential. Those with high adaptability are preserved in containment until the cycle passes. The rest must face natural selection. The cold calculation of it struck the human delegation silent. Trillions of lives dismissed as evolutionary dead ends. Maya recovered first. We have a better option. She activated her data projector. Human immune responses can be used to create a universal treatment. We've already developed prototypes that have successfully treated infected individuals from 3 different species. Impossible, the voice stated. The void cannot be resisted through conventional biological means. It is not merely a pathogen. It is an evolutionary filter. Then you haven't been paying attention to what makes humans different, Maya challenged. The very adaptability you feared is what allows us to transform the plague from destroyer to symbiont. We don't fight it. We incorporate it, neutralize it, and repurpose it. She displayed her research data, showing the remarkable process by which human immune systems identified the plague's mechanisms and adapted to them, not merely destroying the pathogen, but absorbing its beneficial aspects while neutralizing its harmful ones. With access to Earth's population, we could develop a universal treatment within months, Maya concluded. Every species could be saved, not just the ones you deem worthy of preservation. The crystalline structures pulsed with increasing intensity, their patterns suggesting agitation, or perhaps the closest thing to excitement their alien psychology could experience. The containment barrier is absolute, the voice finally said. It cannot be lowered without risk of contamination. Then give us the means to communicate through it, Talia proposed. Let us coordinate with Earth scientists directly. They have resources we lack. Impossible, the voice stated again. The barrier blocks all forms of communication. This is its purpose. Elijah stepped forward. Then there's only one option. If you won't lower the barrier and you won't let us communicate through it, then help us break it. The plan was audacious, perhaps suicidal. With reluctant progenitor assistance, the Defiant had been modified with temporary access to technology thousands of years beyond human development. They would have one chance to breach the containment barrier, retrieve the biological samples and scientific expertise needed from Earth, and escape before the barrier repaired itself. As they approached the solar system for the first time in 10 years, Elijah stood on the bridge of the Defiant, memories of Earth flooding back. On the view screens, the shimmer of the containment barrier was visible, a perfect sphere encompassing the entire solar system, just beyond Pluto's orbit. All systems ready, Naveen reported. The progenitor phase shift device is charged and stable. We'll have exactly 73 seconds from activation until the barrier's auto-repair functions seal the breach. And if we're not clear by then? Elijah asked. The ship will be severed by the resealing barrier, Naveen replied simply. Maya joined them on the bridge, her expression determined. Earth Defense Command has been notified of our approach through the progenitor quantum relay. They're ready for the rendezvous in high Earth orbit. Assuming they believe we're who we say we are, Talia added. For all they know, this could be a hegemony trick. Ambassador Mbiki will recognize her daughter, Maya said confidently. And I've included authentication codes that only Earth's Science Council would recognize. Elijah took his command seat. All hands, prepare for barrier breach. Initiate countdown. The phase shift device activated, projecting a cone of exotic particles that interacted with the barrier's energy matrix. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a circular opening appeared in the shimmering wall, its edges fluctuating wildly as the barrier's systems attempted to repair the damage. Breach stable. 73 seconds on the clock. Naveen called. Take us through. Maximum thrust, Elijah ordered. The Defiant shot forward, crossing the threshold into Earth's solar system for the first time in a decade. Immediately, alarms blared as defensive systems locked onto them. We're being targeted by Earth defense platforms, the tactical officer reported. Transmit authentication codes, all channels, Elijah ordered. And get me a direct line to Earth Command. Agonizing seconds passed as they accelerated toward Earth, defensive weapons tracking their approach. Signal from Earth Command, a communications officer announced. Text only. Authentication confirmed. Proceed to coordinates. Welcome home, Diaspora. A cheer erupted on the bridge as the targeting locks disengage. The Defiant raced toward Earth, where a small fleet of vessels waited in high orbit. Leading them was a ship Elijah recognized, the successor to the vessel that had transported Ambassador Mbiki to hegemony meetings years ago. We have 47 seconds until the breach closes, Naveen warned. Establish docking protocols, Elijah ordered. Prepare for emergency transfer of personnel and materials. The ships linked with remarkable efficiency, testament to the preparations made by Earth in the brief time since they'd received the Diaspora's message. Through the docking tubes streamed Earth's top xenobiologists, carrying research materials and biological samples that would be critical to mass-producing the plague treatment. Among the final group to board was an older woman whose regal bearing matched Talia's perfectly, Ambassador Caroline Mbiki, aged but unbowed by the decade of isolation. Mother and daughter embraced briefly, professionals aware of the countdown ticking away. 20 seconds until breach closure, Naveen called. All Earth personnel aboard. The docking officer confirmed. Disengaging airlocks. Get us out of here, Elijah ordered. Maximum thrust back to the breach point. The Defiant pulled away from Earth, accelerating with everything its engines could provide. On the view screen, Earth, beautiful blue Earth, receded rapidly. 10 seconds. They could see the breach now, already beginning to shrink as the barrier systems worked to repair the damage. 5 seconds. The opening was barely large enough for the ship as they approached at breakneck speed. Brace for transition, Elijah called. The Defiant shot through the narrowing hole with meters to spare, the barrier sealing behind them with a flash of energy that rocked the ship violently. Barrier transition complete, Naveen reported, unable to keep the relief from his voice. All systems functional. We made it. In the science bay, Maya was already working with the Earth scientists, integrating their research with hers. With the combined knowledge and biological samples now available, they could begin mass-producing the plague treatment within days. 3 months later, Elijah stood beside Maya, Talia, and Ambassador Mbiki in the Great Chamber of the Hegemony Council. Representatives from all 12 founding species were present, along with delegates from dozens of member worlds. The patches of black on the galactic display had grown, but they had also begun to recede in areas where the human treatment had been deployed. High Counselor Vexthar, his crystalline exoskeleton now bearing faint traces of corruption that even he had not escaped, addressed the assembly. The Council acknowledges the service humanity has rendered to the galaxy, he said, his voice plates vibrating with formal tones. The treatment developed from human biological processes has proven effective against the void plague across all tested species. Distribution continues to affected worlds, with priority given to population centers. He turned to the human delegation. In recognition of this service, and in acknowledgement of the error in our previous assessment, the Council hereby rescinds the containment order on Earth. The barrier will be deactivated within one standard galactic month. Murmurs spread through the assembly, some of approval, some of concern. Furthermore, Vexthar continued, humanity is granted full membership in the hegemony, with all rights and responsibilities thereto. The scattered human colonies will be formally recognized, and reparations will be made for losses sustained during the containment period. Ambassador Mbiki stepped forward. The people of Earth accept these terms, High Counselor. However, the diaspora colonies have thrived as independent entities for a decade. They will require representation of their own. A matter for future negotiation, Vexthar acknowledged, but one the Council is prepared to address favorably. As the formal proceedings continued, Maya found herself approached by a progenitor representative, a smaller crystalline structure serving as mobile envoy for the vast intelligences that rarely left their homeworld. Your species' adaptability is indeed remarkable. The progenitor communicated directly to her mind. Perhaps our assessment was not entirely an error, merely our response to it. How so? Maya asked. The void plague is but one of many evolutionary filters this galaxy will face in its existence. The progenitor replied, we have survived many by careful isolation and preservation. Your species offers a different approach, adaptation and transformation. Both strategies have merit. Maya smiled. Perhaps the next time your species faces something it doesn't understand, you might try talking to us first, rather than containing us. The crystalline structure pulsed in what might have been amusement, a lesson learned at great cost. The progenitors do not easily change their patterns, Dr. Sharma, but your species has demonstrated that change, even rapid, unpredictable change, can be the key to survival. As the assembly concluded, Elijah looked out at the representatives of hundreds of worlds, many of whom owed their continued existence to humanity's unique biology and the determination of those who